They were, they thought, the Third Reich's racial elite. Men superior to others, ready to do anything for the triumph of National Socialism. Men Hitler could count on to the death. To apply their racial theories, they were prepared to eliminate their adversaries, to decimate the Jewish people, to massacre civilian populations. Over 70 years later, some of them are still living among us.
One people, one Reich, one Führer. That was our motto.
I felt anti-Semitic.
We wanted a pure state. No Jews in the Third Reich.
This is the story of SS fanaticism, bloodlust, and terror. Told from the inside. Summer 1941. Hitler has unleashed his troops on the Soviet Union. In order to kill Jews, the Nazis had already formed special units. The Einsatzgruppen, detachments of killers made up of SS members, police, and locally recruited auxiliaries. Here is one of their leaders, SS General Jeckeln. He would be hanged by the Allies in 1946 for the murder of more than 100,000 people. His method of execution, sardine packing. He applied it here, in the Baba Yar ravine, where he executed more than 30,000 Jews. They were laid on top of one another and shot, then buried in layers like sardines. Men, women, children.
A woman with a child fell to the ground and begged, "Shoot me, shoot me." The SS soldier, a Ukrainian, took the child's head, placed it next to the woman's head, and shot through it. And he said, "One bullet."
The paradox was that the SS didn't see themselves as criminals, but as victims, soldiers defending themselves. Oskar Gröning, one of the last Auschwitz SS men still alive. He believed at the time that it was the Jews who had brought the world to wage war against Germany.
We were convinced, and this was our vision of the world, that we Germans had been betrayed by the whole world, and that there was a huge Jewish conspiracy against us. Children weren't our enemies at that point. The enemy was the blood which flowed in them. But the children would grow up and become potentially dangerous Jews. That was why the children were included.
Executioners, victims, switching the roles authorized every crime. Not every SS man took part, but many agreed with it. In the view of the SS chief Himmler, those who killed Jews were carrying out indispensable work for the survival of the country. He wanted to attend a massacre and see for himself hundreds of bodies piled up in a ditch. He's said to have felt queasy seeing the blood spurt from the bullet wounds, but his demands for executions only increased. Listen to his voice as he speaks to his generals.
Wir haben das moralische Recht, wir hatten die Pflicht, unserem Volk gegenüber das zu tun. Dieses Volk, das uns umbringen wollte, umzubringen. Von euch werden die meisten wissen, was es heißt, wenn 100 Leichen beisammen liegen. Wenn 500 da liegen oder wenn 1000 da liegen. Und wir haben diese schwerste Aufgabe in Liebe zu unserem Volk getan. Und bis durchgehalten zu haben, anständig geblieben zu sein, hat uns hart gemacht und ist ein niemals genanntes und niemals zu nennendes Ruhmesblatt.
To wipe out 11 million European Jews, according to the SS's own calculations, Himmler appointed a technocrat of crime. SS member Reinhard Heydrich, the man with the iron heart, as Hitler called him. The genocide, it's him. A former officer expelled from the Navy, he ran the RSHA, the Reich's Central Security Office, in charge of all state security. One of his sons gave us his family films, notably these holiday movies. Married to an aristocrat from northern Germany, he embodies the ideal SS man, a cold-blooded, athletic, and efficient Nazi. With his secret police force, he had files on millions of Germans, notably the Jews, whom he divided into several racial groups, 100% Jewish, mixed blood, etc. It was a formidable system and the first step towards extermination. For his services, Hitler made him head of Bohemia Moravia. You can see him here at home in Prague Castle, the former residence of the Austro-Hungarian Emperor. A king surrounded by his court. When she learned of his nomination, his wife Lena was overcome. I was submerged by a feeling of exultation, she wrote. I said to myself I was no longer a mere mortal, but a princess, and that I was living in a fairy tale. Throughout Europe, the new Nazi lords took over the finest homes. Another castle was occupied in Krakow, Poland. It was here that Hitler's former lawyer lived and worked, Hans Frank, Poland's Governor General.
Die Juden, diese grumnasigen Raubpiraten, diese Sendboten, der Vernichtung. Diese Elendswichte und Nachtgaukler, dieses verdammte Misch- und Börsengesindel.
In the north of Germany, we met his son, the writer Nicholas Frank. He remembers the SS who guarded him in Krakow during his childhood as mediocre individuals.
In fact, they were all very happy, despite the crimes, to be in government, because they had everything. It was an easy life. They could buy anything on the black market. I don't give a damn if innocent people are strung up from lampposts if I have a nice life. Why would I care anyway? They're subhuman. All the secretaries, they were called the governor's halls. People fornicated everywhere. It was a way of forgetting the crime-filled atmosphere, thanks to a few orgasms, of forgetting the fact we had no reason to be there. They were so cowardly, such base, hateful liars. They showed who they really were. Despicable middle-class scum. That was my father. A complete asshole. As of May the 10th, 1933, there were the big autodafés in Germany to burn the books of our great authors. At that point, he should have said, "No, it's not possible." As a humanist who knows Goethe's Faust almost by heart, who loves Shakespeare, who plays the piano beautifully, who goes to the theatre whenever I can, I cannot take a part in this. But he did participate, primarily to help his career.
He was not the only one. Many people benefited from the war. These Waffen-SS soldiers, for example, who crisscrossed Europe from one conquest to the next. For them, it was like a great adventure. As the Jewish people gradually disappeared, the SS profited and dreamed. Himmler had promised them the brightest of futures. The Third Reich would last 1,000 years, he tells them. As Greece fought Rome, as Rome conquered Carthage and Jerusalem, so Germany will crush the Judeo-Bolshevik USSR. It is the last war, he tells them, so we may as well win it swiftly. It will put an end to centuries of racial strife. These are arguments that hit home. The SS wanted to believe that in conquered Soviet land, Himmler would give them vast agricultural holdings, where thousands of Slav workers would work for them as slaves. Like the Teutonic Knights of old, the new lords would defend German civilization against the barbarians.
The ideology was, out with the Jews, get out. We can see the state of mind of Himmler, the biggest bastard of all time.
Himmler was a decent man, a man of honest character. Himmler wanted the best for the German people.
And apparently not only for the German people. From 1940, with the aim of founding a German empire, he opened the doors of the SS to the inhabitants of several defeated countries. The Danes, the Norwegians, the Dutch. They were all Germanic, said Himmler. As the war continued, the SS opened up also to the French-speaking Belgians, the French themselves, and the Italians, Latin peoples, to whom Himmler gave the hope of entering into the Nazi elite.
Joining the Waffen-SS was a promotion for us. I was in Germany. I'd heard that the Germans were underfed, but this was false, and badly dressed, not true. Everything I saw in Germany was much better. For me, it was an excellent model.
The National Socialist Party had done a lot of good in Germany for the workers by giving them jobs, getting them involved, building them houses and gardens, etc. We thought it was a model, yes. Exactly. My dream at the time was to see Germany win the war. For me, Germany was the supreme nation in Europe. When I joined the Waffen-SS, I considered myself to be one of them.
An illusion. None of these non-Germanic, Latin, or here, Muslim Slav peoples would ever actually belong to the Black Order. Attracted by the wages and the family allowances, they wore the uniform, but were cannon fodder. For every foreigner who dies, said the head of recruitment, no German mother cries. One of these Muslim volunteers met Himmler, who was more calculating than ever.
He loved Islam, which promised paradise to soldiers who died in combat. No other ideology in the world, not even National Socialism, offered that. Sublimating death, saying, yes, if you fall, you will go to heaven and be surrounded by virgins. That was Heinrich Himmler.
The Führer's residence in Bavaria. Here are the architects of the final solution. Himmler the cynic in the company of Reinhard Heydrich, his dark shadow. Confidence on their faces. In 1942, the Nazis controlled a large part of Europe and were putting into practice their racial theories. They believed they would soon defeat the USSR. They knew, however, that their death machine would not be sufficient to complete the extermination. and that some of their men were disgusted by the tasks they were being asked to perform. Behind the lines, the Waffen-SS were now fighting against Stalin's partisans, soldiers in civilian clothing who, according to the Nazi propaganda, failed to respect the laws of war.
You could never tell whether it was a partisan or not. You think you're in a quiet position, and suddenly there's all hell got loose. The partisans come and they were shooting right, left and center, you know.
They're not soldiers. They fight in such a sly way they have to be eliminated, that's all. As an individual, I am powerless against that. Things got out of hand during World War II, on all sides.
If you were attacked by partisans, and they were in civilian clothes, and attacked by surprise, then you were entitled to shoot at civilians. So things happened that you can't even imagine.
Like these scenes of collective madness, Waffen-SS soldiers decapitating prisoners with axes. Wherever there's a Jew, there's a partisan, explained the SS generals. And wherever there's a partisan, there's a Jew.
An ordinary Jew to go and kill him? No, I didn't. I can stick, well, it's out there. I can stick my hand on the Bible and swear to it. I didn't. I had no occasion. I was lucky that I didn't have to.
If you had been ordered to do that, would you have done it?
Now you ask me, I think I would. Because an officer ordered me to do, and an order is to be obeyed.
Even shooting civilians or children or women with no weapons?
Oh, no. No, not that.
In 1942, there were still some 10 million European Jews left to kill, according to Heydrich's calculations. After several experiments, the SS leaders believed they'd found the solution: how to kill far more people while sparing their troops. Death camps. This amateur footage shot by SS guards shows the inside of the Posen camp, one of the first in occupied Poland. Interning undesirables, as in the 1930s, was no longer enough. They were to be killed. In the greatest secrecy, the SS tested toxic gas. In a specially built gas chamber, hidden behind these outer walls, they had already eliminated 400 mentally ill prisoners by 1939. Gassing was a gentler form of death, they said, particularly for the killers. And so the SS now used this technique to relaunch their killing machine, targeting all European Jews. In a few months, Himmler's men set up a new network of death. A sophisticated, sinister web on a vast scale. From the Atlantic coast to the plains of Poland, they ferried their victims to the camps where they were exterminated. Europe was a prison. It became a morgue. Antiseptic and efficient. See how calm these SS men are. They have partially delegated everyday tasks to deportees themselves. And are content just to survey events and keep their hands clean. Unsullied, distant, superior, and more cynical than ever.
Where the Nazis were very smart was with the extermination in the concentration camps. They managed to keep it all perfectly secret. There were a lot of people to exterminate.
Most would be sent to the slaughterhouse, notably to Auschwitz. These photos taken by an SS guard show the arrival of prisoners and their sorting by SS doctors. On one side are the young and healthy who will work. On the other, those who will be killed in the coming hours. Once they were designated, the SS guards avoided them. They merely supervised the killing process, dropping toxic gas canisters into the gas chamber via a hatch. Then other prisoners removed and burnt the bodies in ovens. What did the Auschwitz SS guards feel? How could they live amid such slaughter? We sought to meet some of them, recently targeted by the German judiciary.
Guten Tag. Guten Tag. Wir sind gekommen, wir wollten mit Ihnen über den Zweiten Weltkrieg sprechen, über Auschwitz.
Kein Interesse. Keine Auskunft davon.
Aber Sie können sich ja verteidigen.
Erstmal die Kamera ausmachen.
The only ones willing to speak about Auschwitz are the Waffen-SS, who weren't even there, and who don't believe it happened.
Everything that's been said about the massacres, I've heard it all, but I didn't believe it all. And even today, I don't believe it all.
What happened to the dead from Auschwitz? Where are they?
If Hitler had really wanted to annihilate the Jewish people, don't you think he would have succeeded? It wouldn't have been hard for him.
For me, the word Auschwitz doesn't exist. I just don't recognize it. Whether there were mass graves or not, or whether they were killed with this product or that, or gassed or shot, the subject's of no interest to me at all.
Inadmissible insults to the victims, a denial of reality, despite the countless proofs of genocide committed against those the Nazis judged undesirable. Here, for example, with the deportation of Dresden's Jews. Almost all would die in Auschwitz, an unbearable truth for most SS veterans. It ruins the dreams of their youth. Herta Botha could not deny the existence of the camps. She worked in several before moving to Bergen-Belsen.
My first impression wasn't bad. Right away, SS sergeant said, "Oh, here's my little blondie." I thought that was nice for a young girl. I got on well with the SS men. They wanted to be important. They did what they wanted with the prisoners. There was one guard, cop. She was a madwoman. Her fiancé was Adolf Hitler's driver. She thought she had every right.
Most of the SS guards in the camps experienced a feeling of power. Many were delighted to be appointed there. The camps were a safe haven. The staff were not risking their lives, and Himmler had made sure they'd be comfortable. Like here at the Reichshof camp, 120 miles from Auschwitz. The Auschwitz camp itself was much sought after. It was here, to this 470-acre complex, that Oskar Gröning was sent as an accountant in 1942.
The main camp at Auschwitz was like a small town, with its gossip and rumors. There was a grocer's where you could buy marrowbone to make a soup, a canteen, a cinema. There was a theatre where they regularly put shows on, a sports club where I was a member. It was joyful and lively, like in a small town.
They even had a rural leisure resort, 20 miles from the camp.
Alcohol was very important. They gave us a ration every day, and sometimes we had serious drinking parties.
Oskar Gröning was, he claims, disgusted by the massacres and asked for a transfer to the front 2 years after his arrival. Although he too has retained some fond memories of his times at the camp.
The particular situation of Auschwitz enabled us to forge friendships that I still remember with pleasure today.
The men and women of the SS who behaved like monsters were human beings. And there lies the problem. July 20th, 1944. The beginning of the end. This time, their idol was almost eliminated. At a senior staff meeting, Hitler's bunker was blown apart by a bomb. A Wehrmacht officer from Germany's old elite was behind the attack. Hitler was only slightly wounded, but everyone was deeply affected. The Third Reich, supposed to last 1,000 years, was under threat. The Normandy landings are now a month old. In the east, in the west, everywhere the Germans are retreating to try to shore up their crumbling front lines. Hitler scales up the deployment of the Waffen-SS, the front-line firemen, as they call them.
The front was breached. We were defending the zone, and it was a hopeless battle. I said to myself, we've been betrayed by our own troops. Not only do we have to defend against an all-powerful enemy, but we're being betrayed behind our backs.
the SS know they have everything to lose. Since the 1930s, they've staked everything on Hitler. If he falls, they fall with him.
That was what the war was about, total war, where the human being had no importance, none. The only question was how to win the war. That was the question.
Better kill 1,000 Russians too many than one too few, their leaders on the Eastern Front told them. Confronted with a similar insurrection in France, they applied the same terror to dissuade the population from supporting the resistance. At Oradour, the Das Reich division assassinated 642 people. SS soldier Gur was 6 miles away at the time, he says.
Concerning the village of Oradour, I didn't know about it. When you're a partisan, you must know that it's best not to go up against combat troops who are used to responding immediately with every weapon available.
I saw civilians hanging from trees and lampposts. They said, "You see what we do? If you do anything against us, then we'll hang you. We'll kill you."
Certain Waffen-SS soldiers from the Das Reich division were forcibly enrolled, nothing like the others who were volunteers. From the Alsace border region, they were born French, but the Nazis saw them as German. They were called the Malgré nous, against our will. In 1944, as the army withdrew, they discovered from the inside the pitiless methods of the Black Order.
All those who weren't with them were against them. If you caught traitors, resistance fighters, civilians, then you could shoot them, and that was that. Except for the blacks. The blacks weren't worth a bullet. You put their heads under your arm and bust their skulls with a shovel. That's what they told us.
You could feel the fanaticism in their every move.
I saw a guy there, a shell that exploded. Bang, he cut his arm off. He just said, "Shit, my arm's gone." But now that's how it is.
They said the whole world was against them, but they'd win anyway.
Until now, everything had gone fine. They thought it would continue, and that Hitler would do whatever was necessary. They thought, for now we're retreating, but the time will come when we'll stop them, and we'll be able to advance again.
Born and bred on Nazism, these SS men couldn't imagine their Führer's demise, or their own. Their leaders warned them, German civilization will disappear if the Jews and the communists prevail. To replace Heydrich, executed in Prague by the Czech resistance, Himmler appointed another SS officer, Kaltenbrunner. And the reign of terror continued unabated. For some time now, reality had no longer concerned them. At the end of 1944, their demise was certain, but they hung on nevertheless. Hitler had promised miracle weapons, devastating rockets that would turn the tide of the war. The V2s caused havoc in England, but nothing actually changed. Himmler continued to send reinforcements to the front.
They put us up against the Russians with no weaponry. We were swamped on every side. We marched at night, and they'd catch up with us during the day. And they'd be in front of us and behind us. They were on all sides. We should have had 2 or 3 tanks to defend us, but there was no fuel to run them. We had no resources, just our own skins and handguns. They sacrificed us.
Obviously, at the front, everyone shat in their pants. But because we were brave, we swore that we'd die for the homeland.
January 1945. Himmler, who wanted to erase all traces of the genocide, ordered that Auschwitz be evacuated. An amateur film, shot by a member of the Czech resistance from his window, shows the last train leaving the camp, bound for Germany. On board the open cars in temperatures of -5 Fahrenheit are SS guards and their prisoners, thousands of Jewish deportees who have escaped the gas chambers. It was in liberating the camps that the Allies discovered the massacre committed by the SS. Six million Jewish victims, hundreds of thousands of prisoners assassinated, homosexuals, priests, gypsies, disabled people. Only some of the 40,000 SS guards were arrested and identified. These men, who thought they were superior to others, looked very ordinary. Some were disguised as prisoners in striped uniforms, in an attempt to pass unnoticed. Most of them were identified by the blood group tattoo under their arms, stamped when they first joined the SS. A mark they could never wash off, even if they cut and restitched their skin. Among them were 3,000 female camp guards, including Herta Botha. For 2 days, the Allies made them bury their victims. Interviewed over 50 years after the event, Herta Botha had not one word to say about the dead prisoners in the camps. She believes she was the victim.
To go to the toilet, we had to do it on the ground and wash our hands with urine. It's true. It's really true. The concentration camp ruined my life. I was just a simple guard. I was there and I did what I was asked to do.
Do you feel guilty?
No, me personally, no. I knew I could do nothing for them. I couldn't help them. Otherwise, I'd have been locked up.
They had been the new lords. They had become pariahs. Until the bitter end, most of them continued to fight on the front, or what was left of it. Living the legend, remaining pure.
I remember everyone had to form a semicircle, and our leader soberly told us what he'd just heard on the radio. Hitler has fallen in Berlin. As a result, you're no longer bound by the oath you swore to Hitler, but you are still beholden to the German people. That was it. Then we dispersed without a word.
I was relieved, because I was still alive.
I was there, and I said, Benwald, what are you going to do now? Yesterday you were someone, a dashing fellow with a smart uniform and decorations. And today, you are nothing.
May 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders. The SS were moved into prisoner of war camps, where they would spend months, even years. Disguised as a police sergeant, their leader, Himmler, hid among the crowd. After several weeks of wandering, he was arrested by the Allies and committed suicide with a cyanide capsule.
I found myself in the POW camp with other SS members. They were still just as fanatical at that point. Don't believe that they were saying, what idiots we've been. But we Germans were so stupid to have compared the Jews to rats. We were so dumb.
Some of them were sentenced to death by the Allied courts, like these Waffen-SS soldiers, accused of executing American prisoners in 1944. Convinced they were right, they refused to listen to their sentences to the end. The justice of conquerors, they say, because the atrocities committed by the Allies, the bombings of Japanese and German cities, went unpunished.
Why did they bomb Dresden? Why Nagasaki? Why Yokohama? Why were the Poles massacred by the Russians? Why haven't those people been tried? Nobody talks about that. Germany's certainly committed crimes, for sure. But they've all been punished.
That the Germans were all punished is a myth maintained by all the veterans. Apart from a few leaders, most of the SS slipped through the net, as if only one man should really pay the price.
Hitler betrayed me. He pushed us into misery when he'd promised us joy. He perpetrated such crimes that I can only see it as treason.
A good SS member must be able to wipe out even his close family if they rebel against Adolf Hitler's ideas. So said their generals.
During all those years, I experienced some very difficult times. I don't regret them for one moment.
No. I have no regrets. No way. And I don't doubt for a moment that if I had to do it all again, I'd do exactly the same thing. I have no reason to give up my ideas. And it's not the moment to change my mind.
Spring 1945. The last pictures of the SS. Achtung, this man mocks. They're American soldiers, disguised as SS. For them, the Black Order has become the butt of jokes. For Germany, one of the cradles of humanism and European culture, the discovery of the extent of Nazi crimes was traumatizing. I'm ashamed to be a German, wrote one Munich citizen on May 28, 1945. On the ruins of the Feldenhalle, the place where the SS had once sworn their allegiance. But how to get out of the cult? Eberhard Heder, a captain in the Viking division, abandoned his racist convictions and pursued a career in the Army of the Federal Republic of Germany. Eckhard Gohr, a member of the SS's Das Reich division, who dreamed of chivalry, became a pastor. Egon Kuhn became a trade unionist, speaking tirelessly of the brainwashing he had received in his youth. But they were exceptions. Many of them would remain incorrigible and nostalgic, often joining Waffen-SS veterans associations, which still exist today. Like Manfred Diener or Kurt Bachhausen, whose speeches are still used by extremist networks. Herbert von Mildenberg set up businesses in South America while maintaining relations with several notorious revisionists. In the midst of the Cold War, Werner Faulkner, after having spent several years in a prisoner of war camp, joined the British Army. To finish the job against the Russians, he said. It wasn't until 2015 that the former Auschwitz accountant, SS Sergeant Groening, was tried by the German courts. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison for complicity in the murder of 300,000 Jews. Pending appeal.